Hello everyone, we are continuing to the second installation of TouchStarved. Just a reminder, TouchStarved is of mature content. It is horror and gruesome and lots of blood. Don't remember if there's any sexual parts, but just warning, if you are not prepared or you are not of age, kindly leave. And with that, we shall continue. I hope everyone is having a good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Let's get started. I find myself standing in a narrow and rather gloomy alley. I pull the new cloak up over my nose, stepping over the contents of chamber pots that have been emptied into the street. Something weighs heavily inside one of my cloak pockets. My coin purse. Everything is still inside, every last coin that I'd scraped together for the journey to Iridia. It doesn't even look like it was opened. There were so few coins to begin with, they probably weren't worth stealing. I glanced back at the clinic's closed door. Kuras didn't take any payment. He didn't even ask for a future favor. But he also said that in Iridia, secrets are power. Does he expect me to give up mine at some point? That's not exactly a comforting thought. Still, no matter why he did it, Kuras gave me a second chance and a lead on where I might find help. I'd better get going before he changes his mind. I squeeze out of the alley and into the crowded main street. The line outside Kuras's clinic stretches down the road already. Two thin peddlers queue alongside weathered elders. If any place is in desperate need of a free clinic, it's this one. The cobblestones are treacherously rough under my feet, and deep grooves worn between them by regular flooding and decades of hard use. I knew Iridia was a river city, but I didn't expect it to look so eroded. The buildings are tired and dilapidated, all crammed together in narrow streets. A child darts by, clutching something greasy and wrapped in paper. The smell of fried food drifts over to me. My stomach gives a faint gurgle. This morning's catch, fried up, hot and fresh, not too many eyeballs today. That sounds disgusting, but I'm starving, so I duck my head under the stall's grubby awning. A large fish leers up at me, its three bulging eyes still visible through the thick layer of crispy batter. The vendor gives me a gapped-toothed grin. What's the cheapest thing you've got? The vendor points at a metal basket of what looks like long strips of savory fried dough. Fresh long lads, 3 copper apiece, don't burn your mouth. I take the coins out, counting them gingerly. At this rate, I might not even be able to afford dinner. Reluctantly, I drop the payment on the counter and take my meal. 2 streets later, I pass under a wrought iron archway, adorned with dangling garlands of red and pink lilies. The buildings in this quarter are a dizzying riot of color. Painted walls and tinted glass everywhere I look. Sheer red and pink curtains flutter in open doorways. Musical voices call out invitingly. Incense mingles with a pungent scent of flowers, barely covering the salt and musk of warm bodies. This must be Iridia's entertainment district. I'm polishing off my food and dusting the crumbs from my hands when I spot a poster. It features the silhouette of a smiling man wearing a single dagger-like earring and the word Bloodhounds printed above his head. A motto, as above, so below, circles artwork. If Leander is the leader of the Bloodhounds, then the face printed on the poster is likely his. I followed the line of identical posters around a corner and nearly hit my head on a precariously dangling wooden sign. Looking up, faded orange letters read, "The Wet Wick." The facade of the building looks like it's seen better days, but I hear faint music and laughter coming from inside. Oh, this is nice. The inside of the bar is a far cry from the abandoned exterior. It's not even midday, yet most of the tables and booths are occupied by a loose assembly of people in matching green cloaks. I'm no stranger to bars. Sometimes I would take my books to the local tavern for a change of scenery, but I much prefer quieter places. The cursory glance doesn't turn up anyone with a dagger-shaped earring. I'm about to head towards the counter when a chant rises from the center of the room. Show! 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 The remaining green cloaks abandon the bar and their booths to rush towards the center of the room in a sudden torrent. There's no time to move out of the way. I'm caught, swept along in the ale-stench current. Hey! Rhythmic chanting drowns out my voice. I thrash, throwing out my elbows as the press of bodies grows heavier. My hip knocks into a table. I grip it, holding on tight to steady myself. But the crowd has stilled. The chanting stopped. A pair of gilded boots stride across the tabletop. Seriously, you dogs again? Scattered laughter and cheers rise from the audience. I drag my eyes upwards. A well-dressed man stands on the table in front of me, his broad shoulders framed by the thick lapels of a trench coat. This really is the last time, all right? This time, when he speaks, the audience falls silent, as though bewitched by his magnetic presence or rich, low voice. But nothing is as captivating as his smile. He beams at the crowd around him, a performer in his makeshift stage. Don't blink or you'll miss it. He laughs, and the dagger-shaped earring dangling from his left ear catches the light in a flash of gold. It would seem I've found Leander. He raises his hand above the audience and snaps. A flash of pale green light. Real magic. No ordinary stage trick blinds me. As the brilliance ebbs, my gaze refocuses on the mage towering above me. He flicks his wrist. The magic spiral around him coalesces. The delicate flower stem sprouts from between his pinched fingers. One by one, glowing lily petals spring forth. With a flourish, the mage presents the conjured flowers. The audience bursts into clapping and cheers. My mouth hangs open, and not just on account of the impressive performance. There was no incantation, no spell circle. I've never seen something so beautiful and intricate, conjured so effortlessly. Leander must be an incredibly gifted mage. No wonder Kuras recommended him. Leander plucks the iridescent bouquet out of the air and turns in a slow circle, giving his audience a good look. Now who could use some good luck? Eager onlookers scoot closer to the table. Some reach for the lilies while others whistle and call Leander's name. But his cool green eyes slide right over them, locking on me instead. How about you? My chest tightens. Every person gathered turns to stare at me. Refuse the flowers. My voice comes out weaker than I'd like. Someone else might appreciate them more. Leander's smile widens as though he didn't hear me at all. You seem like you could use something to brighten up your day. But as he speaks, the lilies fade away in a shower of opalescent light. To my surprise, Leander laughs under his breath. That's the problem with flowers. They don't last long, but they leave an impression, right? He grins at me and I find myself smiling back. Leander steps off the table, dropping among the excited crowd with an audible clink. All right, bloodhounds, get back to your drinks. Show's over. The green cloaks disperse at his command, returning to the tables and booths. Before I can make my way towards Leander, his eyes find me. He gives me a friendly wave, then beckons me over to the crowded corner. I manage to squeeze beside him, but there's so little room that his broad shoulder presses against mine. I tense, but he doesn't seem to mind at all. Is this your first time in Iridia? He says it lightly, with a genuine air of curiosity. Do I stick out that much? No, but I'm certain I remember seeing a face as lovely as yours around Lowtown. My eyes flicker to the polished countertop. I'm not used to flattery, and being this close makes eye contact difficult. As if on cue, the bartender approaches us. What can I get you? Surprise me and add anything my friend wants to my tab. I wasn't expecting the generosity, but I have to admit, I do feel a little thirsty after all that fried dough. Water's good. While the bartender leaves to fix our drinks, Leander leans his elbows on the counter. I'm close enough to notice the purple shadows under his lower lids. His eyes wander over me in return, but when they lock on my bandaged hands, a sour taste rises in my throat. Here come the questions. So, what brings you to the Wick? Kuras sent me. He pushes his hair back from his forehead, but it immediately falls right back into place. So it's about work. The bartender pushes a pair of glasses our way. I don't realize how thirsty I am until the cool water touches my lips. I drain the water in a single gulp. Leander takes a deep swig of his beer and lets out a satisfied breath. How can I be of assistance? I need to get to the cenobium. As soon as the word cenobium leaves his mouth, the entire bar falls silent. Bloodhounds twist around in their seats to gawk openly. Finally, an especially drunk one speaks up. The hell are you bringing up the cenobium in here? Throw him out, this is bloodhound territory. The vitriol catches me off guard from the angry looks thrown my way. It's clear I've broken some unspoken rule just by mentioning the cenobium. When I glance at Leander, he's drinking, as though he hasn't noticed the uproar. Only when he catches me looking does he lower his glass. For the love of, he drags a hand down his face. Hey, keep it down, will you? This is business. I tense, expecting an argument, but the outspoken bloodhounds silently return to their drinks. Only a handful continue to watch me warily. Sorry about them. The cenobium's a bit of a touchy subject in these parts. Makes enough drinks, and well, you saw. How about we continue this outside? When I give him a terse nod, he pushes away from the bar counter. I follow Leander to an alleyway tucked behind the west wing, where layers of frayed bloodhounds posters have been plastered to the walls. Seeing them side by side, the resemblance between Leander and his likeness on the posters is impressive. Caress didn't send you here for help with the cenobium, did he? From the look he gives me, he already knows the answer. I glance away. No, he didn't, but he suggested I find an alternative, yet here you are, asking about them anyway. What do you need the cenobium for? I don't want to tell him about my curse. The less people know about my capabilities, the better. Thankfully, Leander takes my reluctant silence as an answer. Well, I see you're already aware of the city's currency. Information's worth its weight in gold here. Caress told you the truth. The cenobium's dangerous. Get on their bad side and they'll imprison you. If you're lucky, or torture you. If you're not. Torture? My teacher never described anything like that. But the cenobium's supposed to be a place of learning, a sanctuary. The cenobium has always been heralded as the last bastion of human knowledge, a shining beacon of hope in a world steeped in nightmares. If any place held answers, it would be the cenobium. That's why I came here. That's what they want you to think. But things that seem too good to be true are often just that. Such a simple statement, and yet it leaves me reeling. If it's true, if I staked everything on a lie, then what now? Leander clears his throat. But as I always say, there's solutions to every problem and alternatives to every solution. He clasps his hands and turns to me with a brilliant smile. That's why Caress pointed you to the bloodhounds. Let us help you, whether it's hunting soulless, finding people, or recovering stolen valuables. We can do it all, and free of charge. I'm shaking my head before he's even finished his practice speech. My patience is wearing dangerously thin. Listen, I appreciate the offer, but my problem can't be solved by a group of good Samaritans. To my chagrin, Leander nods slowly. Then your problem must be fairly serious, and if the cenobium's your first choice, you're searching for a magical solution, aren't you? Well, when my eyes widen, he nods along, as though he suspected all along. I'd be happy to help you out, that is, if you'll tell me what ails you. Leander might not work for the cenobium, but if his show was any indication, he's even stronger than the mage who raised me. She couldn't do anything about my curse, but maybe I'm silent, plagued by indecision. I don't know if I can trust him, but it's not like I have any alternatives. I hate to admit it, but this could be my only path forward. My confession comes out in a pained whisper. I'm cursed. Cursed? Oh, now I'm very curious. What kind of curse? Something ancestral or more recent? He looks me up and down, taking in my face, my eyes, and finally, my hands. It's your hands, isn't it? I wait until I'm certain. My voice will remain steady before answering. My touch is dangerous. It changes people, hurts them. Before I've even finished, Leander begins taking his glove off. He tugs his right hand free and flexes his fingers. Let's see it. He offers me his hand with a prismatic flash of magic ripples, across his palm, an enchantment for protection, but I'm already shrinking backwards. I can't. I don't care how confident Leander is. I can't bring myself to hurt him, to see his kind face twist into a mask of madness. Believe me, this isn't an ordinary curse. I'll be fine. Perhaps where you came from, your affliction was strange and one of a kind. But spend a year in this city and you'll see 1,000 curses and thrice as many cures. Do you really think Kuras would send you here if I couldn't handle it? How should I know? I only met him today. I'm as good as any mage in the Cenobium. Better even, if they can help. So can I. You don't know what you're asking me. I'm asking you to trust me. I look from Leander's outstretched hand to his confident smile. Then with a short breath, I begin unwinding the bandages from my hand. Fine, but if you lose control, don't say I didn't warn you. You can tie me up first if it makes you feel better. With each joint I expose, I grow more and more certain that this is a terrible idea. Ready when you are. If he's both bothered by the way my hand looks, he doesn't show it. My fingers hover shakily over his palm. 3, 2, 1. Touch him. I tap his palm once as quickly as possible. It's barely more than a brush, but that's all it ever takes. When I look at his face, expecting to see the worst, Leander only grins. See? It can't be. This time when I reach out to touch Leander's palm again, he catches my wrist before I can pull away. I told you, there's really nothing to worry about. He trails off when my thumb brushes the soft skin of his inner wrist. I search Leander's face for traces of madness, but his eyes remain a clear, soft green. Color rises in his cheeks, but he remains still except for the subtle bobbing of his throat. Neither of us speak as I trace the contours of Leander's palm, lost in an awareness I wasn't prepared for. I've been with other people, kissed them, been embraced by them, and more. But not like this. My fingers long deprived of years of bandaging. Pick up every detail, the groove of his palm, the smooth shell of his nails, the pulse of his heart. For as long as I've lived, I've never been able to hold someone's hand, not without dire consequences. I never realized what I was missing until this moment. While Leander's pulse is steady, mine is hammering as fear gives way to excitement. Do I keep touching him, or do I let him go? It's foreign, so I'll let him go. I draw my hand back and take a steadying breath. My head feels as though it's stuffed with cotton. Habit alone guides me through the motions of rewrapping my hand, although my fingers tremble too much for the bandages to fly flat. I can't believe that worked. May I ask your name? I am Picasso. You are right to hide this from me, Picasso, that curse of yours. It's unlike anything I've ever dealt with. I can tell you're discreet, but you'd best not go showing that off to anyone else. I didn't plan on it. Are you staying in Lowtown? I pause. Room and board was something I hadn't yet considered. I don't know. Let's get you properly settled then. The Wet Wick is noticeably quieter. Without their leader, most of the bloodhounds have dispersed, or in a few cases, fallen asleep beside their drinks. Got any rooms left, or did my lot grab them all to sleep it off? The bartender, who I now realize doubles as an innkeeper, slides a key onto the counter. You know I always keep the corner room open for your escapades. Leander's laugh sounds slightly strained, and I always appreciate it, but you're mistaken. This is just for my friend, Picasso. Sure. Stay as long as you like. You two have fun. Escapades, huh? Leander clears his throat, then holds the key out to me. But I hesitate. My coin purse barely holds enough for a day's worth of meals, let alone a room. How much do I owe you? Nothing. Bloodhound rates. My treat, since you shared your secret: food, drink, a warm bed, anything you need. Carefully, I take the key from him. It's small, but weighs heavy in my palm. I never expected to have a warm bed in Iridia, let alone free meals. Thank you. Go explore, Picasso. You'll find many roads in Iridia, each leading to different answers, but if you need a reprieve from what haunts you, come find me. Just be careful. I nod, taking one last look at the gleaming bronze key before tucking it into the pocket of my cloak for safekeeping. Leander gives me one last friendly wave before I depart. The air clings sodden and heavy. Without the morning crowd, the sunless streets look barren and bleak. Even the peddlers are long gone. Only a pair of crows remain quibbling over stale crusts in a gutter. I feel a ridiculous pang of envy. At least they've got a reason to fight. I've never felt so lost. Kruas and Leander both made it clear that the Cenobium can't be trusted, but I came so far, endured so much. I needed to see the Cenobium for myself, if only to satisfy my curiosity. I should have asked someone at the bar for directions before leaving. I'm about to turn back when a shadow passes over me. A cloud, I think, until a puff of hot breath tickles the back of my neck. The shadow runs down the street in rivulets. Formless dark spreads like an ink into blotted shapes. Claws stretch. A muzzle splits open to reveal long, jagged teeth. A glow. A growl rumbles so low and deep, I feel it. I want to run, to scream, but I feel trapped, as though the slightest movement or a single breath will snap the jaws around me shut. No, I won't let it end like this. If I'm going to die, I want to see what got me first. I steel myself, then turn. The shadow vanishes as quickly as it came. I'm left standing in the middle of the street, alone except for a figure reclining in the shade of a nearby stoop. A monster, that much is clear from a glance. One that could nearly be mistaken for human were it not for the tufted ears, the tail curled around his ankle, or the dust-pink eyes with pupils that sharpen like needles when they fall on me. Our eyes meet, and the monster uncrosses his long legs. His hair gleams a shade of red that reminds me unsettlingly of blood, where it curls around his collared throat. Jumpy, aren't you? His tone is so light and carefree that I glance over my shoulder to make sure he's speaking to me. When I look back, the stranger pops his chin on his knuckles and regards me with an inscrutable little smile. Right there. Didn't you see that shadow just now? It was massive, moved like a beast. Even as I speak, I'm aware of how ridiculous I must sound, but the stranger's smile doesn't falter. It's him. The only beast I've seen are the Wix-drooling regulars, though this did catch my eye. With a flourish of his hand, my in-room key appears dangling from his finger. It turns on its chain, glittering when it catches the light. My hands fly to my cloak's pocket, and sure enough, find them flat. He crooks his finger, beckoning. I've already taken two steps forward before some stifled instinct stops me. Something feels wrong. I'm still on the edge, thrumming with so much adrenaline that the stranger's shadow flickers at the edges of my vision. I always track the worst kind of attention, but I can't get rattled now. Where did you find it? How did you even find it? The key, I mean. What can I say? I'm a sucker for shiny things. He smiles, wide enough to reveal pointed canines. I saw you drop it. You really should be more careful. City like this, somebody might take advantage. A bald-faced lie, and said without a hint of irony. There's no way I dropped that key, but I can't think of an explanation for how it went from my pocket to his hand. I approach the man, careful to keep an arm's length away. He doesn't look dangerous, but the most deadly ones never do. The stranger's hand softly clinks with the tilt of his head. His ears flick. Keeping your distance? I'd be stupid to trust you. You think I stole your dinky little key from all the way over here? He gives an exaggerated sigh. I'm good with my hands, but not that good. Do I really look like a common thief to you? He's got me there. The sheer fabric of his sleeves alone would be too expensive for most street thieves. Hell, his shoes look like they cost more than I spent traveling here. And then there's a shop behind him. No matter the city, parted pink curtains only ever mean one thing. I'm not looking to buy, and I doubt I could afford your services anyway. Lucky for you, I don't charge. The man runs the tip of his tongue over a fang, and for the first time I stepped into that shadow, I felt something other than dread. My face grows hot. That's not what I meant. I'm flattered, really. Were sex my trade, I might make an exception for you. How about half off for a handy? Or you could just hand over my key. Ask nicely, and I might even let you tug my tail. Just throw it here. So some spindly little street urchin can snatch it and run. He raises my key and tilts his head so he can watch it dangle back and forth. I suppose I could just claim your room for myself. Not that I'd be caught dead slumming in the wick with the rest of those slack-jawed imbeciles. You're obviously not from around here. So tell me, traveler, what misfortune brings you to this wretched place? His voice practically drips with derision. I'm not telling you anything. What could have possibly drawn you to this dreary little pig pen? Dreary. Oh. What could have possibly drawn you to this dreary little pig pen, I wonder? He listlessly watches the arc of my key swinging around his finger. The weather's shit, the food's dreck, and there's entirely too many monsters for a human to feel safe. Unless... Dagger-sharp eyes flick towards me. They gleam with amusement. Unless you're just dying to consort with monsters. Now my embarrassment has worn away, leaving simmering impatience in its place. If this is a shakedown, it's the most frustrating one I've ever heard of. Turn him down. Are you done, or did you plan on flirting with me until night falls? He touches his cheek to mock affront. You wound me. How can you be so immune to my charms? You're about as charming as an ox and half as subtle. I suggest you go practice your seduction on someone interested. That earns me a burst of breathy laughter. How about you teach me the ropes? Show me a thing or two. The more he flirts, the more convinced I become that this is some kind of trap. No matter how innocent monsters look, they always have tricks up their sleeves. And something tells me that this one's more dangerous than he lets on, even if he has a lovely laugh. I don't know what you want or why you're messing with me. But I'm not coming any closer until I know you aren't going to attack or bite. I won't bite hard unless you beg me. No matter what I say, he finds a way to twist my words into innuendo. Even when I'm silent, he goes on as though we're having a conversation, not a standoff. Do you like dancing? There's a traveling troupe performing in Hightown tonight. The lustist is utterly exquisite, truly a performance to die for. There's life in this dreadful place if you know where to look. You sound like you know the city well. The man's gaze flickers from me to the key dangling from his finger. Naturally, this dump was little more than a miserable little smear when I first arrived. High town, low town, I know already like the back of my hand. What about the cenobium? Do you know where that is? His smile vanishes. Surely you've seen it, that absurdly large tower looming over the rest. It's a little hard to miss. He must mean that spire I noticed when I first caught sight of Iridia. The cenobium's overrated. Forget about it. I can show you things those stuffy boars in our lip-dick tower couldn't even dream of. Oh, dang. I've already got plans. Oh, have you some pressing matters at the cenobium? Lunch dates with librarians? Tea time with the most esteemed abbess? That's my business. What's it matter to you? I square my shoulders and amusement bleeds out of him. Your loss. The stranger, finally bored of his tedious game, extends his hand extends his hand towards me. The key rests in his palm, neatly dividing skin and leather. When he makes no other move, I reach for the key, but as soon as my fingers graze smooth brass, his hand springs shut around my elbow. Hey! He yanks me down and I stagger, my soul slipping on the steps. For a sick moment, I fear my bandages will unravel under his touch, but he's careful not to disturb them, even as his finger digs into my arm. I knew I smelled blood, you reek of death and the road, and that fucking doctor. His voice, once silken, lowers to a smoky growl. The shadows around him seethe and boil as he pulls me closer, and something else, he murmurs against my throat, nose grazing my jaw. Let go! I try to twist away, but he doesn't budge. His breath trails down my neck, sending a thrill of dread through me. But just when I fear he'll bite, he takes a deep whiff instead. His wide, flat eyes gleam with a naked hunger as he gazes up at me. Not quite human, not quite monster. Seems we're both. Bear! Stranger's ears flatten and he releases me with a short breath. I yank my arm back, massaging it where his grip left grooves in the bandages. The stranger twists around to watch a woman duck out from the curtains behind him. Her cenobium uniform is nearly identical to the one my mentors kept tucked away in his closet. I leave you for all of, 10 minutes and you're making trouble again? Will you quit harassing the tourists? The stranger Vare. I take it, rolls his eyes, and flashes the cleric a withering smile. So suspicious. Can't you see this is a friend of mine? A natural liar. He grins at me and his tail swishes minutely. The woman purses her lips at me, clearly unconvinced. I open my mouth to correct him, but fear cuts in. I was graciously offering my dear friend some free advice. Though his voice remains light and cheerful, her expression darkens. Danger is drawn to you like a moth to flame. It will always find you, given time. The woman clucks her tongue as though she's heard this recital 102 times. Word of advice: don't take free advice from lazy foxes lounging in the streets. This crook would sell water to a drowning man for the sheer enjoyment of it. She shrugs off a wilting look from Veer. Oh, please. Any friend of yours knows it's true. Now hold still. Veer rises gracefully at her approach. He pushes his hair aside so it drapes over one shoulder, exposing the long line of his neck. And suddenly it dawns on me that the jingling I heard earlier wasn't coming from the harness attached to his collar, but a leash. A heavy iron chain wound around a hitching post and padlocked to the back of his collar. Bear posed deliberately to hide his leash from me. The woman produces a key ring from her pocket. She rifles through a dozen identical keys before selecting one and slotting it into the lock. Come on, unless you're friends, tagging along on our merry little soulless hunt. You're hunting for soulless inside the city? Words momentary fail me. The woman regards me with a polite, tight smile before marching down the stairs. Bear lingers. He stretches his arms over his head with a yawn. I try not to stare at the way his stomach flattens when he arches his back. Your little secret's safe with me. Try not to get yourself killed, Bear hops off the stoop and bounds after the woman. His tail sways merrily as though he hadn't just lied and threatened me. Did you try that thing I mentioned? The love mention knot? That the one where you take 3 fingers and actually don't tell me, knowing you is disgusting. Bear's airy laughter echoes down the street. It's only after he and the cleric have vanished from sight that I realize I'm still missing something. Wait! Reflexively, I shove my hands into my pockets and find it, the room key. I pull it out of my pocket and raise it to the light to be sure. A nagging feeling distracts me from my relief. I don't know what Bear's game was, or what he wanted from me. All I know for certain is that the cenobium saw fit to leash him, a fate I could share, if that's what his vague warning meant. I let my eyes drift skyward, to past the lanterns, gently swaying in the breeze, to the cenobium, faintly visible through the haze. Just one glimpse is all I need, then I can put this all behind me. This time, the key goes into my coin purse for safekeeping. Alright, gents, we're pausing there. We'll be back. My mouth needs a break. Y'all have a good one. Till next time. Thank you for joining me here with TouchStarved. I guess I'm the one who's touch-starved in this. I had no idea that was a thing. Yeah. Till next time. You guys have a good one. Like and subscribe. Toodaloo.